Hello, my name is Grian, and today I've got something very special to show you. It's essentially Hogwarts level magic in Minecraft. You take this HALFCRAFT tool made by Coder, right click any block, and it turns it instantly into a half slab. But not only that, as you can see, it's floating there in midair. If you select it using the chat, you can nudge it anywhere between 1 and 16 pixels in any direction at all. Up, down, east, west, south, north, anywhere, meaning you can place any block anywhere you like in the Minecraft grid. Basically, it's no longer Minecraft, you can put a block anywhere. It is absolutely insane, including inside other blocks. So you can make some amazing details, patterns, tricks, and tips with this amazing command block tool, which does mean that it is in vanilla Minecraft and it is only in the Java edition, but this is still amazing. A big shout out to Coder. But before we go into some of my ideas, let's go through the nitty gritty of how to set this up. So you need to go to Coder's website, the magician from Hogwarts that made this, and there's a link down in the description. It will take you to this website right here, and it basically has all the instructions you need for installation. You need to open up your Minecraft world, make sure that there's cheats on, and then you need to give yourself a command block. Fairly simple to begin with. Place it down on the floor, making sure that you have ample, and I do mean ample, space around it, otherwise it's going to interfere. And then you need to copy this command here and select the console command, always active, and then paste it into the chat box there and click done. Boom, it should instantly appear. If it doesn't appear, something has gone wrong. So now we need to put in a second command. As you can see, it says insert command 2. I'm guessing all this magic didn't fit on one line, so it needed to be done twice. It's not finished until you've done it. You need to remove that insert command 2 and paste in that second command. There it goes, and the whole thing is now set up. It is as easy as copy paste. You then get given an egg, which you can then turn any block into a free block, so to speak, that it's not confined. But this will only free up 6 blocks for your inventory on this whole HALFCRAFT thing. So we immediately want to go to the extension command, which is the third box there, and that will basically add tons more blocks to the arsenal. So you want to make sure again that there's loads of space around this command block before you paste in the extension command. And once that's done, both parts are set up and it will free up most of the blocks, not all of them. As you can see, I wanted to use this quartz pillar. So if there is a block that isn't in this list, you then go to the extension generator and it will make a little tiny box so that you can have the very specific blocks that you need. So again, you know the drill. And then as you can see, it's got a very small one. And now I can free up the quartz pillar. So now you know how to set this all up. That's the main thing. Let's just get the few technical minutes out of the way. It's very easy to set up. You do need a little bit of space, and it's easy to get rid of and all that kind of stuff. But now I really want to show you what I've come up with in terms of some fancy designs using this absolutely incredible tool. So, let's take a quick look, shall we? So I've added a few more extras. These transparent blocks don't work because there's actually a shulker head in them. So I mentioned that there's only 6 blocks. The main module will only give you these: dirt, grass, stone, polished andesite and granite and all that kind of stuff. Not very useful blocks, to be honest with you. But with the extension module, you get all of these blocks, which is, to be honest with you, most of the key building ones. We've got all of the woods, we've got the miscellaneous, bit of sandstone, bit of all that kind of stuff, and then we've got all the different colors which are really frequently used, the wools and the concretes and whatever else, and then we've got a few little odd ones down the bottom as well. So you can see how important making sure you have that extension module is, because basically otherwise you can't use it on any blocks at all. But then obviously if there's something that's not there, you can make the little extension ones as well. So I've got a few designs that I put together. Now it does take a really long time to make these because you have to move every block individually. So as you can see, we've got a little chair here and we've got some wool in there. So I've selected these blocks so you can see them. They are embedded underneath and inside the chair itself, and you can kind of fiddle around with these to try and get it pixel perfect. You could either have it jutting out, or you could have it more like a cushion. It's completely up to you. There are so many possibilities here. I have barely even scratched the surface. The next one is probably one that's a bit more subtle. I thought this would be perfect since that you can actually stand on these blocks and collide with them. They are physically there. You can make staircases and all sorts of really cool things to walk on. I've got a couple of more examples later on. There are a few problems, like these little glitchy areas where two textures collide, and I think that's just a problem that you can't really get a workaround for, unfortunately. But it's still incredible. There's also a few lighting glitches that you might be able to see here, and I don't really understand why this has happened, but it has. But nonetheless, the staircases do look really, really cool, and sometimes it can be hard to tell what's a real block and what's not, which is nice. You don't want it to be too obvious. So there you are, there are the staircase designs. Next up, I have, okay, look, this house isn't the best looking in the world, I know. It was made just to demonstrate the idea behind the little details here on the HALFCRAFT stuff. So what I've got here is a bunch of quartz blocks embedded into the corners of this Georgian style house to try and get those details that normally would take up a really big chunk. So in reality, these little slabs are only protruding a tiny amount. But on this build, we can actually make that happen instead of having a full block of depth. Other little details might include some window panes and trying to shape your windows a bit more, or if you've got a staircase upside down, you can create vertical slabs. As long as they're embedded into another block, it doesn't look weird at all, apart from maybe some glitchy textures. On the whole, there is so many things you can do in terms of just buildings alone. But of course, you can make some vegetation. Now this took a really long time to make, believe it or not, because each one of those blocks was placed very carefully to try and get something that looked natural, which is a lot more easier said than done. So I had to use clay here instead of leaves because the leaves are transparent and actually don't work with HALFCRAFT, unfortunately, and if it did, you'd see a shulker head in there as well, because somehow this HALFCRAFT stuff uses the shulker mob as a proper block. I don't know, it's all witchcraft to me. Anyway, let's move on. So here is a pretty cool temple looking thing, and it's on its own little pedestal, but each of these blocks are not real. It's all sitting directly in the middle of 4 blocks, which is incredible. This is probably one of the best things that you can do with this, is just offset pillars into the center of it. So if you've got a 2-block center on a build, you can still make it work with this. The only problem is moving a lot of blocks at a time can be very, very time consuming in itself. On this build, it can actually be quite difficult to see which ones are real blocks and which ones are not. You can kind of tell with all these, patterns, the textures mixing together, but actually in the center, most of those blocks are HALFCRAFT ones, and they sit really nicely. Next up is my favorite one of all of the designs, and this is perhaps expected because this pillar is entirely made up of HALFCRAFT blocks. Each individual one is pixel perfect all the way around to create a circle, and even the pillar itself is made up of HALFCRAFT blocks because it sits directly in the center of a normal one. So you can imagine how cool these cylindrical pillars would look on a smaller scale build. You don't need to place loads of blocks at a really big scale to make it look cylindrical. It can get really pixel perfect, and I absolutely adore that. The key is really not to overdo it though. You gotta keep it simple. Now this, speaking of simple, is one that is very simple. So I've just got some glass here and 1 block of magma, and it sits perfectly in the center of 4 glass panes. So while it looks quite natural because it's sitting on its own, when you realize that it's actually in the middle of 4 blocks, you kind of realize how strange it is. But you need to make sure that you don't accidentally delete blocks that have a HALFCRAFT one in them, otherwise you won't be able to place it back. You'll have to move those blocks back out the way and then replace it. And you don't have to do anything super fancy either. Here's a little design for a desk in an office. You just move some blocks inside a sign with the name on it, and there you have it, a little name tag on top of a desk. There are some very simple techniques that you can do with this. And here's some toilet designs. Of course, there had to be a toilet. There nearly always is in these showcase ones. I mean, there's nothing really fancy about it, but you can just get a bit more intricate with these designs. And here, for example, instead of using water in a cauldron, we've actually made a bit more of a sink. But unfortunately on this one, the textures are going slightly crazy. So, I mean, you can just tinker with it to make them not go crazy, but you do have to take some liberties there. And finally, this was just a hanging drawbridge that I thought would work. Perhaps you've got a, tree house or something and you want to walk across it. It dips down like a snow would. So instead of using snow, you can actually use wood itself and just lower it down pixel by pixel until you have it sitting as you want. So overall, there are so many opportunities. Like I said, I barely scratched the surface with what you can do on this. So if you do have the Java edition and you want to give this a go, there is a link in the description to bitkoder's website, which has all of the command stuff that you need. You can do this in single player and just mess around, or you could add it to an existing world and improve it, improve your builds, anything like that. Or maybe you just want to create some half slabs made out of random blocks along the ground. Oh, there's so much potential here. There is this little bug here. Of course, you can see the shulker head. And sometimes if you put a block inside a physical one, it vanishes. I'm not entirely sure why, but you can fix that by creating the other one to be free from the grid as well. This entire thing has blown my mind, and I want to say a massive, and I do mean massive, thank you to bitkoder himself. Not only for making it, but for sharing this with me, because he thought that I would have the best opportunities to create some stuff. And I felt a bit overwhelmed, to be honest. I was like, oh, what am I going to make to impress him? So I just had a few designs just to kind of show off what you can do. But honestly, I'm betting that a lot of your minds are whirring. If you guys could do me a favor here, and there's a link down below to Coder's video of HALFCRAFT, his trailer one, and if you could just leave a comment saying, good job, this is amazing, and subscribe to his channel because he really truly deserves it. And I want to see how many of you actually go ahead and do that. It would mean the world to me if you could give him support for creating this amazing, amazing thing. He's clearly been to Hogwarts. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy HALFCRAFT as much as I have, and you come up with some amazing things. Make sure to tweet it at me and at Coder as well, what you've come up with. Alright, that's it from me, everyone. Thanks again for watching, and goodbye.